Hey there guys, I am the Six Machine and welcome back to another Warhammer video. The pre-order of the Thousand Sons and the Grey Knights is coming tomorrow, and in the final Warhammer community article about them, we have been shown off a few more of the army-wide special rules, abilities and stratagems for the Thousand Sons. And I have to be honest, the more I'm reading about them, the more I am excited about possibly picking some up. As I think a lot of us expected, much like the Death Guard, the Thousand Sons have a rule which means that you kinda have to focus more on the actual marine units in the codex rather than just going for the cheap throwaway troop options, and so their new mere servants rule states that you cannot have more cultists or Bray units, which I'm guessing will be the Zangor models, than you do Rubric Marines or Terminators. And whilst this may have been a bit of a pain in the past when you just wanted cheap chaff troops to sit on objectives, with the rather strong nerfing to cultists in 9th edition, as well as the seemingly quite improved profiles for both the Rubric Marines and the Scarab Occult Terminators, I don't think this will actually be as much of a problem, because you will likely want to bring along a fair few Marine units anyway to sit on objectives or go and claim objectives from your opponent, and then you can just bring a couple of Zangor units to act as a relatively cheap harassment or nuisance unit around the board as well. The actual Marines themselves have got a few updated rules as well as some improved weapon profiles to go along with it, and first up is the classic Thousand Sons rule, All is Dust. This hasn't really changed too much, granting you +1 to your armor save against the damage 1 weapons, as well as ignoring the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons. It is apparently slightly nerfed because currently it gives a buff to your invulnerable save, or so I've heard. That I think is just rules as written, but I will be honest with you, I had never even noticed that before, and I don't think that many people either were aware. I spoke to a few people and they didn't seem to be aware about it, but I kind of just always assumed it was armor saved anyway, so this doesn't really bother me. I think in general it is largely the same as it was previously, just tightened up to fit in more in line with how Games Workshop seem to want to do 9th edition armies and 9th edition codexes. There is obviously a fair bit of damage to weaponry in the game right now, but I think it is still fair to say that a good 75%, if not more, of the firepower that will be coming your way will be damage 1. Bolters, sluggers, chainswords, flamers, splinter rifles, all armies in the game have a lot of damage 1 weaponry, which appears pretty much across all of their units. So this will come into effect, honestly, a heck of a lot of the time, and really will help to keep your Rubric Marines and Terminators alive, bumping them up to a 2-up or even a 1-up save respectively. They also show off the Arcane Automata rules, which is quite honestly fantastic in my opinion. It means that you automatically pass morale. This is almost an unheard of rule in 9th edition, to be honest. GW have been massively doing away with just auto-passing morale and that kind of thing. So whilst you may not have the huge horde-style squads of orcs or tyranids to really make the most out of that, this will still make a huge difference if you are, say, running a 10-man squad of Rubric Marines and they lose 4 or 5 to enemy fire. Now you won't have to worry about that morale test or the subsequent combat attrition at all. So in my opinion, this is a really brilliant, possibly slightly underrated rule. In terms of the weapons they show off, the Scarab Occult Terminators have had a massive bump to their damage output, with their previously Strength +1, -3 AP, 1 damage power swords now going up to damage 2, which also stacks very nicely with their now baseline 3 attacks. So these guys are going to be pumping out a really good, solid number of Strength 5 attacks, ignoring a lot of the armor saves in the game, and then being able to just chew through Marine profiles with contemptuous ease. Likewise, the Soul Reaper cannon has had a lovely little boost, although I will be honest, it's perhaps not quite as strong as I would like, especially when you consider it to something like the Space Marine Onslaught Gatling Cannon. It's gone from Heavy 4, Strength 5, -3 AP, 1 damage, to a much nicer Heavy 5, Strength 6, -3 AP, 1 damage profile. So there's an extra shot, and there's a bump in strength. The extra shot is nice, don't get me wrong, but going from Strength 5 to Strength 6 is... I'm not going to complain, I mean it's okay, but it's not one of the massive breakpoints in strength like going from Strength 4 to Strength 5 or Strength 7 to Strength 8 is generally in 9th edition. So it's nice, Don't get me wrong, it will be useful and you will notice the difference, but it's not an absolutely game-changing change, in my opinion. I think overall the generic marine profiles of the rubrics and the scarab occults looks as though they have gone through a much needed improvement to both their durability and their damage output, which is really nice to see, and I think will help them a lot on the tables of 9th edition. But Warhammer community weren't quite done there, and they showed off a few of the brand new stratagems that we can look forward to as well. First up, we have the absolutely unbelievably brilliant Unwavering Phalanx rule, which ties in so nicely with All is Dust, and it means that when a unit of Rubric Marines or Scarab Occult Terminators is selected as a target in the shooting phase, you subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of attacks made against them. So all those heavy bolters and venom cannons are lined up against you, ready to deny you that All is Dust bonus thanks to being 2 damage? Well, not anymore. Now they're only damage 1. So All is Dust kicks in and you get that bonus save in addition to the stratagem itself neutering the damage that they do manage to do to you if you do fail any of those saves. It is quite expensive at 3 command points on a unit of 6 or more models, but to be honest with you, for a small 5-man squad of Scarab Occult Terminators, it's only 1 command point, which means that if you sit some of those Terminators on an objective in cover, they just will absolutely not shift, no matter how much firepower your enemy pours into them. Wrath of the Wronged is up next, which for 2 command points allows you to either, in the shooting phase or the fight phase, select an infantry unit, and when they make an attack, you add +1 to the wound roll. It's a bit pricey at 2 command points, but +1 to wound is quite rare, and it's always a very powerful buff to have. I think especially on a unit of, say, those Scarab Occult Terminators, this would let you wound Marines on 2s, with -3 AP and 2 damage, remember, which would mean you could absolutely melt through entire squads of intercessors. And even in the shooting phase, the bolters on your Rubric Marines, that +1 to wound will mean that you can wound Marines on 3s, or even wound things like the new Orcs or Custodes on 4s rather than 5s, which is a really powerful buff. So once again, another very solid, very useful, quite straightforward, simplistic stratagem, just to help boost your damage dealing potential, which I am a really big fan of and I think is really useful to have. It's all well and good having really complicated, convoluted, complex stratagems, but sometimes you just want +1 to wound. Finally, for this Thousand Suns preview, they show off one of the other brand new Infernal Pacts, which we saw them talk about earlier in the week. This one, the Malefic Malstrom, is another really handy, simple damage boosting power for your Thousand Suns. You select a friendly Thousand Suns unit within 24 inches and visible to your Infernal Master, who has to be the one casting it, and until your next command phase, you add +1 strength to your ranged attacks. So this makes your bolters strength 5, which again is one of those key breakpoints, meaning that you can wound Marines on 3s and Orcs and Custodes on 4s instead of 5s. And then of course you can combo this with the previous Wrath of the Wrong stratagem to get your Rubric Marines to wounding Marines on 2s or Custodes and Orcs on 3s, which is quite honestly just unbelievably powerful. As I said, I really love how straightforward and simple the stratagems and the rules that we've been shown off here are. I think there will be a lot of complexity in the Thousand Suns Codex with all their psychic powers and with the Infernal Pacts, but sometimes it is really nice to just have a few good solid stratagems that you can just easily pop on a unit and just get a flat damage increase from them without having to jump through too many hoops. It's really handy, and they seem like they are going to be really good for both your melee and your shooting as a Thousand Suns player. But what do you think? Are you excited for the Thousand Suns pre-order tomorrow? And do you think these brand new and updated rules will push the Thousand Suns to be in the top tier, or will they still struggle against armies like the Admech and the Drukhari? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me, but until next time, I will catch you later, guys.